On the edge of the Hooghly River in Kolkata stood an old two-story house where Sanjeet and Kajol lived. They had been married for almost 2 years, and their life was peaceful and full of love. But after some time, Sanjeet began to notice something strange about Kajol. She had become unusually quiet. Almost every night, she would stand on the balcony for hours, gripping the railing while staring into the dark waters of the Hooghly River, as if she was listening to something hidden beneath the silence. Slowly, her appearance also started changing. She began wearing a red sari almost every single day. Its loose end fluttered eerily in the wind. On her wrists were white shell bangles that made a faint clinking sound whenever she moved. What disturbed Sanjeet the most was Kajol's sudden obsession with fish. She never liked fish before, but now she demanded it every day. And if Sanjeet ever forgot to bring fish home, she would force him to go back outside and buy it immediately. Sanjeet couldn't understand what was happening to his wife. One night, while sleeping, he suddenly felt as if someone was biting into his shoulder. He woke up in shock, but there was nobody there. Only Kajol, sleeping peacefully beside him. The next morning, Sanjeet felt an unbearable pain in his shoulder and neck. When he looked in the mirror, he froze in fear. There were deep bite marks on his skin. A horrifying thought crossed his mind. Could Kajol have done this? From that day onward, Sanjeet started fearing his own wife. A few nights later, Sanjeet woke up to a horrifying sound coming from the kitchen. It sounded like an animal chewing flesh. Kajol was missing from the bed. Terrified, Sanjeet slowly walked toward the kitchen while calling her name. The entire house was covered in darkness. Only the faint light from the refrigerator illuminated the room. As he reached the doorway, his eyes widened in horror. Kajol was standing there, tearing apart a raw fish with her teeth. Blood dripped from her fingers onto the floor. Her lips and teeth were soaked in blood. Suddenly, Kajol twisted her neck toward Sanjeet. Her eyes were glowing bright red. Sanjeet's heart pounded violently. Within seconds, Kajol leaped onto him like a wild beast. He crashed to the floor. She leaned over him and began sucking his blood with her long fangs. Sanjeet was drenched in sweat, unable to move. As he struggled to get up, his eyes fell upon Kajol's feet. They were twisted backward. The horrifying sight made him lose consciousness instantly. The next morning, Sanjeet woke up in his bed. Everything looked normal. Kajol was in the kitchen preparing breakfast while her shell bangles echoed through the house. Without saying a word, Sanjeet quietly walked to the refrigerator and opened it. The 4 kilograms of fish he had bought the previous day were gone. At that moment, Sanjeet realized the terrifying truth. What he saw last night was not a dream. Suddenly, he felt a burning sensation on his neck. He rushed to the bathroom mirror and saw that the bite marks were still there. Fear consumed him. Who had he been living with all this time? Because that woman was no longer Kajol. Without wasting another second, Sanjeet went to an old tantric in Shababazar. People believed the man could identify and control evil spirits. Sanjeet told him everything. The tantric stayed silent for a while before speaking in a trembling voice. Your wife is possessed by a shikshani. He explained that a shikshani is the spirit of a woman who dies before marriage. Such spirits possess married women, live through them, and slowly drain the blood of the men in the house. The tantric warned Sanjeet that the spirit would not leave until every last drop of his blood was gone. If you delay even a little, he said, it will kill you. Sanjeet believed every word. He had heard stories of the shikshani since childhood, but until now, he thought they were just myths. That evening, Sanjeet brought the tantric to his house. Darkness had already fallen. As the tantric entered while chanting mantras, the temperature inside the house suddenly dropped. An icy coldness spread through the air. Kajol stood silently in the living room. Slowly, her eyes turned blood red. Her bangles began clinking violently. As the chanting grew louder, Kajol started growling like an animal. Her hair scattered wildly across her face, and her expression twisted into something inhuman. She no longer looked like Kajol. She had transformed into the terrifying shikshani. The tantric chanted louder and louder, but the spirit seemed unaffected. Suddenly, Kajol lunged forward and sank her teeth into the tantric's neck. At the exact same moment, every light in the house went out. The tantric's horrifying screams echoed through the darkness. Kajol continued drinking his blood mercilessly. Sanjeet backed away in terror, but now Kajol had turned toward him. Her backward feet scraped across the floor as she moved closer. Her red sari glowed in the darkness. That night, a horrifying scream echoed from Sanjeet's house. The next morning, when the police and neighbors entered the house, they witnessed a terrifying scene. The bodies of Sanjeet and the tantric lay on the floor. Deep bite marks covered their bodies. But the most horrifying thing was this. Their bodies were completely pale, as if every single drop of blood had been drained from them. Even the doctors could not determine the real cause of death. After that night, Kajol disappeared forever. An elderly woman from the neighborhood, Mrs. Chatterjee, often watched the old house from her window. She had witnessed the horrifying events of that night but was too traumatized to speak. A few weeks later, she finally told her family everything. Nobody believed her. But soon, another terrifying incident shocked the neighborhood. Mrs. Chatterjee was found dead. Her body was pale white, with 2 deep bite marks on her neck. It looked as though her blood had also been completely drained. Terrified, her family left the neighborhood overnight. Even today, People living in that area say that sometimes, late at night, a terrifying woman wearing a red sari can still be seen standing on the balcony of that old house. Her sari sways in the cold wind,